The 1970s was a treasure trove of musical star power. But what did so many of these 70s idols do when the disco 80s rolled around? And what the heck are they doing today? What happened to the likes of Johnny Rivers? Will Barry Gibb ever perform again? And what does Linda Ronstadt do in her spare time? We wanted to know, so we found out. Let's revisit our favorite 70s musical legends and catch up with them in 2025. Agnetha F&auml, Abba. Here's the dancing queen herself in one of her band's signature wild, totally 70s outfits. Definitely part of Abba's big draw was their flair and their beauty. Agnetha had the soaring voice, the radiant blonde hair, and a stage presence that made the world fall in love. Dancing Queen, Mamma Mia, these songs weren't just hits, they were everywhere, and they made it look effortless. But life behind the scenes wasn't always so glamorous. A lot has changed from then, obviously, but Agnetha still got that head of beautiful blonde hair for any and all Abba reunion tours. After Abba called it quits, Agnetha stepped away from the spotlight, and not just by choice. She developed a severe stage fright that made performing unbearable. Part of the issue was her loss of her security blanket, as she went through a really messy divorce with fellow bandmate Bjorn, which only pushed her further into seclusion. But that's not to say she quit music entirely, just performing. She released solo albums, 2013's A and 2023's A+. The music's fine, it's fine. The best song on A+, I think, is I Keep Them on the Floor Beside My Bed, which happens to be the only song written by Agnetha.
Should have stayed and worked it out.
These days, she mostly stays out of the public eye, but she does re-emerge for ABBA-related projects like the ABBA Voyage virtual concerts. She primarily lives on the island of Akiro near Stockholm and has a deep love for nature and animals. She just enjoys taking care of her dogs and cats and chickens and horses, oh my. But even if she prefers a quieter life now, there's just no denying it. Her legacy is as bright as ever. Johnny Rivers. Now here's a man who knew right off the bat how to be a mysterious, rugged type. Just look at him. Rivers was never the loudest guy in the room, but man did he know how to leave a mark.
Tell me how much you missed me.
In the 70s, he wasn't just cranking out hits, he was shaping the music scene itself.
It's a sign of weakness for a man.
He played a major role in helping the Monkees get off the ground, turn the Whiskey A Go-Go into the place to be, and raked in millions with hits like Secret Agent Man and Poor Side of Town.
I can't blame you for trying.
Nowadays, you'll notice his black hair is mostly turned gray, but he's still rocking that little light goatee beard, even if it's now lighter in color too. Johnny's not done with music. You've got his 1998 album Last Train to Memphis and 2004's Reinvention Highway, but his final live performance was in July 2023 at Commerce Casino near Los Angeles. He spends most of his time near LA since his married son is a film editor in California, and Johnny's grandson plays with a jazz group on the weekends. So you know, Johnny's gotta be near to offer the sage advice, which of course the great Johnny Rivers has plenty to offer. Cher. Wow, now this is kind of like looking at that yearbook photo of Couple of the Year, at least for a while back in the 70s. You know, when Cher was everywhere. She and Sonny weren't just a musical duo, they were America's sweethearts for a time, cracking jokes and belting out hits on the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour. But let's be honest, Cher was the real star. That contralto voice, those daring fashion choices, and the way she could command a stage with just a look. Unfortunately, by the mid-70s, their marriage fell apart and their breakup played out in public, with legal battles and some not-so-subtle jabs at each other in the press. But these days, those rainy, sunny days are just a memory. In signature Cher fashion, she shook things up, turning that signature black hair blonde. She's kept the music going, too. She's conquered Hollywood and somehow looks kind of exactly the same. Seriously, it's kind of like she found the fountain of youth. Now, Cher usually resides in her Malibu mansion, but she recently appeared at the Love Rocks NYC benefit concert. Cher also announced that her upcoming 2025 album will likely be her final studio project, marking the culmination of a remarkable career spanning over 6 decades. Alice Cooper. So what did Alice Cooper really look like? Because he's kind of got a serious Mad Hatter vibe going on here. And more of a Tiny Tim vibe going on before that. But in the 70s, he was more of a menace than tiptoeing through the tulips. Alice Cooper was a full-blown spectacle in the 70s. The king of shock rock knew how to put on a show, whether it was guillotines, fake blood, or live snakes slithering across the stage. And off stage, well, he partied just as hard. He ran with rock's biggest bad boys, drinking with the Doors, tearing up hotel rooms, and living like there was no tomorrow. But that lifestyle caught up to him fast. The drinking went from wild nights to full-blown addiction, and before long, he was on the edge of self-destruction. At one point, he was drinking so much that even his hard-partying rock star friends were worried. And when they think you've gone too far, you know it's bad. Nowadays, he's a bit more cleaned up. You'll notice Cooper opted to skip the face paint for his latest interview with Today. Bold choice, I know, bold choice. But these days, Alice Cooper is a whole new man. He found faith, he got sober, and traded whiskey bottles for golf clubs. Yeah, I know, golf. Turns out the godfather of shock rock is obsessed with his short game, and even competes in celebrity tournaments. But don't think for a second he's gone soft. He's still performing, still bringing that theatrical energy to the stage, just with a much healthier outlook, I think. If anyone's proof that rock and roll doesn't have to kill you, it's Alice Cooper.
I went to church, incognito, when everybody...
Debbie Harry, Blondie. Boy, I remember when my sister had to have that Debbie signature hairstyle. Debbie Harry wasn't just the voice of Blondie, she was the coolest woman in rock. Navigating the gritty NYC punk scene in the 70s wasn't for the faint of heart. But Debbie owned it with that effortless mix of glamour and grit, flipping from sultry to punky in a heartbeat. And let's be honest, she wasn't just a rock star, she was a full-on sex symbol. But beneath the bleached blonde hair and bold stage presence was someone who had to fight for every bit of success. She clawed her way through the male-dominated industry, broke down barriers for women in rock, and even had a brush with pure terror. She once escaped a close encounter with none other than Ted Bundy. Nowadays, the blonde's turned more gray, but that graceful power is still there. Look at this concert shot. Today, Debbie Harry is still a force to be reckoned with. She's still making music, still performing, and still proving that punk rock spirit, it never fades. On top of that, she's an outspoken advocate for animal rights, using her voice for more than just music. And while she's influenced countless female artists over the years, the truth is, there's only one Debbie Harry, fearless, iconic, and still just as cool as ever. Barry Gibb. Man, here's another one who just did not know how to look uncool, like in this old video footage. Barry Gibb wasn't just part of the Bee Gees, he was the heart of their sound. That unmistakable falsetto helped define an entire era, from Stayin' Alive to How Deep Is Your Love, making disco the sound of the late 70s. The Gibb brothers were unstoppable, topping charts, filling dance floors, and changing pop music forever. But behind all that success was a family deeply tied to the music, and when the disco backlash hit hard, they had to fight to prove they were more than just a fad. Enter Barry. With his songwriting genius, he helped the Bee Gees reinvent themselves time and time again. Nowadays, during interviews, Barry's got rugged looks with a bit more salt and pepper mixed in. Hey, I feel you, man, I feel you. Today, Barry is the last surviving Gibb brother, carrying the weight of both their success and their heartbreaking loss. Maurice, Robin, and even the younger brother, Andy, all gone too soon. It just left Barry as the keeper of the family's incredible legacy, and though he's largely stepped away from the spotlight, he still finds way to honor their music, occasionally collaborating with other artists. Including a one secret project with Michael Jackson. Barry's influence on pop music, immeasurable, whether it's his songwriting, his voice, or just the sheer impact of the Bee Gees. Barry Gibb is living proof that legends never fade. Paul McCartney. Sometimes I forget the pudding bowl cuts weren't always a thing with the Fab Four. Even after the Beatles called it quits, Paul McCartney didn't miss a beat. In the 70s, he proved he wasn't just a Beatle, he was a hit machine. With Wings, he cranked out classics like Band on the Run and Live and Let Die. And while John Lennon was making headlines for his activism and George Harrison was diving deep into spirituality, Paul seemed to have it all. A thriving career and a seemingly perfect life with his wife Linda. They were inseparable, making music together, raising their kids, and living a love story that felt rare in the rock world.
And you'll be a bluebird too.
But life wasn't always kind. Paul endured the heartbreaking loss of Linda to cancer in 1998, a tragedy that shook him to his core. He later remarried with ex-model Heather Mills, a relationship that definitely didn't have the fairy tale ending in a messy and very public divorce.
Your marriage to Paul McCartney with nearly $50 million. Their divorce settlement determined by...
Then he married Nancy Shevell in 2011. They maintain residence in East Sussex, England, and East Hampton, New York. His hobbies include sailing, horseback riding, ornithology, and painting. McCartney's recent projects include a Martin Scorsese-produced documentary and an upcoming biopic by Sir Sam Mendes.
The new documentary, Beatles 64, takes us back to that time, and I sat down.
Rod Stewart. This shot was taken in 1979. Yes, even before the 80s kicked off, Rod Stewart was set on making the mullet a thing. Stewart was the ultimate rock and roll bad boy of the 70s. Wild hair, that raspy voice, and a party life that made headlines almost as often as the music. Maggie May, Do You Think I'm Sexy? You couldn't escape him, and honestly, why would you want to? The guy had it all, the hits, the swagger, and enough tabloid drama to last a lifetime. And let's not forget those wild urban legends. Yeah, that stomach-pumping story made the rounds back in the day. He also had a complicated love life, 8 kids with 5 different women. But somehow that just added to his rock star mystique. Stewart's still making appearances around town, and pretty much everyone agrees that Gloria's hair may be shorter, but his energy levels just aren't. These days, Rod's still at it. He performs all over the world, but he's also settled into that family life. After beating thyroid cancer, he's embraced a healthier lifestyle, but don't think for a second that he's lost that spark. He may not be closing down nightclubs anymore, but he's still got that twinkle in his eye, still working the crowd like nobody else, and still proving that rock and roll never really fades, it just gets a bit wiser. Linda Ronstadt. When Linda reigned supreme in the 70s, I dare you to find anyone who could beat that beautiful girl next door energy that she brought to every moment, like in this photo. Linda Ronstadt wasn't just a singer. Even though she was incredible, she was a powerhouse. In the 70s, she dominated rock, country, and even Latin music, effortlessly moving between genres while setting new standards for what a female rock star could be. Linda just had the voice, rich, powerful, and unmistakable, belting out hits like You're No Good and Blue Bayou with a force that could silence a stadium. But beyond the music, she was breaking barriers as one of the first major Latina rock stars, proving that talent and authenticity mattered more than just fitting into the industry molds. And if her career wasn't fascinating enough, she even had a high-profile romance with California Governor Jerry Brown, making her a fixture in both the rock world and political circles. These days, Linda boasts a new look in keeping with this new chapter in her story, but life threw her an unimaginable curveball. Linda Ronstadt was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a cruel fate for someone whose voice once defined an era.
Well, as we move on here with health news, it's a disease that's afflicted celebrities from Michael J. Fox to...
The disease eventually forced her into retirement, robbing her of the ability to sing, but never of her impact. Even though she's no longer performing, her influence is still felt everywhere. As of 2025, Linda continues to reside in San Francisco, focusing on her health and enjoying time with family. Nancy Wilson and Ann Wilson, Heart. If there were two sisters who matched that simmering glare, this was the pair. The Wilson sisters, Ann and Nancy, didn't just break into rock, they kicked the door down. In the 70s, Heart wasn't just a band, it was a statement. Women could rock just as hard. Maybe even harder than men. I mean, just look at Barracuda, Magic Man, Crazy on You. They weren't just songs, they were anthems. Ann's powerhouse vocals could shake the rafters, and Nancy's guitar work was nothing short of legendary. But it wasn't easy. The industry constantly tried to box them in, dismissing them as a novelty, reducing them to their looks instead of their talent. But these sisters never backed down, proving time and time again that they belonged at the top. They had the heart, and they weren't afraid to show it. Bunch of new interviews later, and these two definitely still got it. Today, Ann and Nancy have had their fair share of ups and downs, band breakups, family tensions, and all the usual pressures that come with decades in the business. But through it all, they've never stopped playing. Ann's voice is still untouchable, and Nancy continues to carve her own path. Whether through solo projects or keeping Heart's music alive, they may have taken different roads at times, but their legacy is unshakable. Dolly Parton. Can you believe there was a time when Dolly Parton wasn't a household name? Yeah, me neither. But just look at this 70s bombshell. She's like if you took all the hee-haw honeys and shoved them into one bombastic babe. Oh, Dolly. Dolly Parton was never just a country star. She was a force of nature, crossing over into pop and becoming a household name. Jolene, I Will Always Love You. Those songs weren't just hits, they were masterpieces. And while plenty of stars would have been happy with just the music, Dolly had way bigger plans. She she was a really savvy businesswoman long before it was fashionable, making bold moves that stunned the industry. Case in point, when Elvis Presley wanted to record I Will Always Love You, she turned him down flat because he wanted half the publishing rights. That decision alone made her millions later when Whitney Houston's version became one of the biggest songs ever. Jump ahead to the latest red carpet event, and Dolly's smile is as big as ever. Today, Dolly Parton is still an unstoppable force. She's built a billion-dollar empire between Dollywood, her music catalog, and all of her business ventures. And somehow, somehow she's done it all without losing an ounce of charm. The woman funds literacy programs, gives away millions, and still finds time to record music when she feels like it. Sadly, she will now continue her road alone, as in March of 2025, she lost her longtime husband, Carl Dean. We here at Do You Remember are so sorry for your loss, Dolly. Just know that the world is here behind you. Peter Frampton. I don't think anyone summed up the entire 70s era singer appearance quite like this guy in concert. Just look, am I right? In 1976, Peter Frampton was everywhere. Frampton Comes Alive wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon. It turned him into the biggest rock star on the planet overnight.
Woke up this morning with a wine glass in my hand.
Quite possibly the best live album ever. His boyish good looks and signature talkbox sound made him a heartthrob, but his fame burned out just as fast as it exploded. A string of missteps, overexposure, a disastrous movie, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and changing musical trends sent his career into a freefall. Maybe people just miss those glorious locks. We need to bring back that style. Who's with me? Well, this photo is actually for a book tour, so it's fine, I guess. In recent years, Peter's battled a degenerative muscle disease, but even that's not stopped him from performing. In the early 2000s, he moved to Indian Hill, Ohio to be closer to his then-wife's family, but in 2014, he returned to Nashville. Frampton's a vegetarian, and he's credited Alcoholics Anonymous with helping him achieve sobriety back in 2002. Against all odds, he's still doing what he loves despite the IBM, playing guitar and showing the same resilience that made him a star in the first place. Pat Benatar. Even before singing a single note, this woman had the presence of a queen, like in this shot from an old concert performance. Pat Benatar wasn't just a rock star, she was a fighter. In an industry that wanted her to be a pop princess, she cranked up the guitars and proved she could rock with the best of them. Hit me with your best shot. Love is a battlefield. I mean, these songs are incredible. They were battle cries, and when record executives tried to control her image, she pushed back, refusing to be anything but herself. She even married her guitarist, Neil Giraldo, despite industry pressure trying to keep her, single and open for fans. She proved that love and rock and roll, they can mix. Here's a more recent concert shot. Some things never do change. Maybe the hair, but not that smile. Today, Pat's still rocking. She's still married to Neil, and finally got the recognition she always deserved. She was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, cementing her status as one of the greats. Decades later, her legacy isn't just about the music. It's about the door she kicked down for every female rocker who came after. These were the 70s rockers, the singers that made our youth so awesome. From legendary comebacks to quiet retirements, career-destroying scandals to life-altering diagnoses, these 70s stars have all taken different paths. But that's enough of me. Now we really need to hear from you, the fans. Which of these singers defined your youth? Have you seen any of these performers live in concert? How was it? Tell us. Let's chat down in the comments section, because after all, we here at Do You Remember are nothing without you. Thanks for reminiscing with me. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps our channel a ton. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a memory. But most importantly, from my entire team here at Do You Remember, we want to thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful rockin' day. Peace, y'all.